What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We have a Russian official proposing invading NATO countries. I'm going to show you guys the details here in this video. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I cover a lot of things not shown on your average news station, and I show it to you right here on the screen. And I show if you watch my previous video, wow, did we have a thriller here for you. I'll link you to that video here at the end of this video. Russia State TV actually has a massive controversy. I know it's a head scratcher, where Russia State TV is, first of all, it's Russia is wow, are they I don't even I don't even have the words here. So first of all, Russian state TV is controlled. Okay. Also, Russia's internet is controlled. You can't just go on their internet and search for whatever you want. Their state TV is controlled. It's controlled by the government, and you can't go on YouTube and just say whatever you want. People are actually thrown in prison for even going out and protesting, and you also everything on that goes on their TV is monitored by their government. Okay. They just had a government official who went on there and said that they should detonate a nuclear bomb over their own country. And what they said after that, I'll link you to that video here of that here in a moment. That is absolutely going wild here. Okay, this is how crazy some of their officials are, and this is why people are worried they're going to use a nuclear bomb over the rest of the world, because if they're willing to do a nuclear bomb over their own country, which they have done in the past, they have actually done this in the past, which is crazy to think as well. Why wouldn't they do it over other countries as well? Now look at what they're saying here also. All right, Russian official proposes invading 5 NATO countries. And I'm going to let you hear the video here, go over some of the details here as well. An official in the Ukrainian region, which Moscow claims to have annexed, but remember the United Nations has voted on this, and 99% of the world has voted that the annexed votes were not legitimate because they went via armed guard and asked these people how they wanted to vote, and then Russia counted the vote themselves and didn't let the rest of the world see the votes either. So, nonetheless, has said that Russia should try to take territory that was formerly part of the Russian Empire through the might of weapons. In September 2022, Zaporizhia was one of the 4 Ukrainian regions that Vladimir Putin claimed to have annexed. The others being Kherson, Luhansk, Donetsk, although Moscow does not fully control any of them. But the top Kremlin-installed official in Oblast, Yevgeny Balitsky, said Russia should also have its eye on the Baltic states, as well as Poland and Finland, all 5 of which are NATO countries. Take a listen to what he has to say here.
Империя, когда шатнулась после большевистского переворота и пошла по другому пути развития, потеряла очень много своих подданных. Я сейчас про земли не говорю, это само собой. Я понимаю, что это и Варшава, и Гельсинфорс, Хельсинки, и Ревель, и Лейпая, и само собой Прибалтика вся. Это все наши земли, и наши люди там живут. То, что из них сейчас сделали стадо бессловесное, тварей дрожащих, то мы должны это поправить. И поправим мы это силой русского оружия. Никакую дипломатию я в данном случае не верю. Ну, возможно, дипломатия всегда должна присутствовать, это понятно. Но я считаю, что мы можем это вернуть только силой русского оружия. Вернуть своих людей, своих подданных тогда Российской империи, сейчас Российской Федерации. И чтобы весь мир не превратился в тот Содом и Гоморру, который сейчас творится в Европе.
So now we have Russian officials saying they believe they can get the Baltic states, Finland, and Poland back through force. This would be World War III. This would be Article 5 of NATO. This would essentially be, remember, if you attack any country in NATO, this is a declaration of war against all countries in NATO and the United States. You attack any country in NATO, it's a declaration of war against all countries in NATO. All countries in NATO and the United States immediately go to war against, in this case, Russia. All countries go to war against Russia immediately. This is what Russia is saying. They think they can take Poland, the Baltic states, and Finland by force. They think they can do it. Meanwhile, it's been 20 months and they're actually losing ground in Ukraine. If you take a look here at the maps done by the BBC, this is updated, I think, almost on a weekly basis. Before the invasion, here was Ukraine, and Russia obviously took over Crimea back in 2014, almost 10 years ago. Now they decided they want to take over more territory. You could see here in March 2022, they took over quite a bit of territory of Ukraine, as you can see here on the map, with the element of surprise when Ukraine wasn't ready, and you had a lot of people saying, oh, they're not going to invade. Those 150,000 troops they put on the border, they're not going to invade. That's just war rhetoric. Those are warmongers. That's a scare tactic. Those 150,000 troops on the border, they're not going to invade. Just don't pay attention to those troops. Okay, remember all that. Now you can see here that's March 2022. In November of 2022, they lost all that ground and had only this ground here in this bottom left corner, okay, including Kherson and Kharkiv, okay. Now they have lost those two purple territories as well, okay. These two purple territories have now been lost as well since then. Okay, so they are losing territory. Okay, you can look at the maps and see the territory they are losing. Okay, now Ukraine is also fighting to take back as well, and possibly the territory around Kherson as well. Okay, so you can see that Russia has actually been losing ground. And again, these are the maps. They're updated here on a weekly basis. You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And you can also see the limited Russian military control. There's some kind of white / pink red dotted lines here. There's even some more lines right here on this border that they're starting to lose control of here as well. And this is where you got to be careful of Russian propaganda and pro-Russian YouTube channels that tell you that, oh, all the men in Ukraine are decimated. They have no people left to fight, yada, 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 because obviously that's not the case. There's been YouTube channels that have been saying that for months, and obviously this is not the case. This war is likely going to continue going on for months and months, but yet there's YouTube channels and pro-Russian propaganda that's been saying that for months, and the war is likely going to keep going on for months. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if the war doesn't keep going on until the election next year. Remember that Ukraine had about 45 million people before the war started, and then there's somewhere maybe around 40 million people now as women and children left the country. So somewhere around that. Okay, so there's still, let's just say 40 million people after a lot of women and children left. So there's a lot of men in the country. So let's just say 40 million left. 20 million of them are men. Okay. And remember that Ukraine didn't let the men really leave. Okay. And the men, there's 20 million men left in the country. Okay. So they haven't run out of men in Ukraine. So just think that through when you hear the Russian propaganda that says there's no men left in Ukraine. When you hear that, it's just a lot of Russian propaganda. Okay, because just think that through. If there's 40 million people in the country, and if you hear there's no Ukrainian men left in the country, just think that through. Also, you can see here Ukraine's occupied regions to be included in for the first time in new round of Russian conscriptions, meaning Russia is actually going to try to draft up to 130,000 Ukrainian men on Ukraine territory, and try to put them in the Russian army and basically use them as Russian meat. I seen that as a quote, and put them in the Russian meat grinder and probably put them on the front line, and they'll probably just die. Yeah, and it's a really sad story of what will probably happen to these men. They'll literally just probably be put on the front line and be used in the meat grinder and probably just die, as Vladimir Putin just doesn't give a damn, and he'll just probably throw them in there, put them on the front line, and if they don't listen, if the army goes and takes them and they don't fight, they'll probably just be executed. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ukraine doesn't try to speed up taking over territory. But remember, even if you've seen my interview with Colonel Tony Schaefer, even Tony Schaefer said that Ukraine is taking significant losses trying to take back ground, up to 7-1, he said. So remember that when you're on the offensive and you're trying to take back territory from defensive positions that are dug in, it does make sense that you would lose more men from a defensive position, especially because remember the Ukraine is not. So remember, if you're the U.S. and you were going over a defensive position, they're going to go in with planes, F-16s and all sorts of things like that. Very advanced technology. Ukraine doesn't really have that. Yes, they're going to be getting some F-16s and they're starting to get some Abrams tanks. Even when they do, it's not going to be that many. Okay. Ukraine's going in there with literally men. Okay. So it's a different war than say if the U.S. was going in there. The U.S. or Ukraine and Russia is literally man to man combat. A lot of it. I mean, yeah, there's some tanks and stuff like that, but a lot of it is literally like World War II type of stuff. If the U.S. was there, they'd be doing bombing runs and stuff like that. It would be a different war. It's a tough scenario over there. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below. Click the bell icon so if you don't miss out on anything. A lot of the stuff is just not reported on the average news station. So if you want to keep up to date, subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Click here to see the video of Russia wanting to detonate an atomic bomb over their own country and why. It's absolutely shocking. Or you can click here to see my newest video next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.